Hi everyone, welcome to the online class of Ideal English Higher Secondary School. I am Muhammad Shafi, HSST English, Ideal English Higher Secondary School. So, before we going to directly into the subject, I would like to share some unofficial matters with you. English classroom, especially in Ideal, it is a time for fun and enjoyment, and at the same time we get something to improve our language. You can rejoice, enjoy and showcase your talents and abilities in front of others. We offer you all the opportunities. We set the platform for you, and to be frank, it is the students who play the major role in the English classroom. And for you to see, I shall show you a few photos that we had captured in previous years. How was the English classroom? And we form a group, we form a language club, an English club, under which we have conducted so many colorful, excellent programs like Spell Bee, Film Fest, and so on. In short, English gives you the time to rejoice yourself, to leave the stress. It is a stress-free classroom where you can find happiness, less worried. Okay. Here you go, you can watch a few photos, you can go through a few photos which we captured in last classrooms. Okay, dear ones, hope you enjoyed. Now, let me get into the topic. Again, I don't want to go to the topic directly. Let me introduce you a puzzle, English puzzle. You can see 3 words here, and if you watch it carefully, you can identify something in common in all the 3 words. Can you identify? Just listen to the word and identify what is in common in all these 3 words. Hope you could identify. It is just nothing. If you remove one letter from each of these, they all spell the numerals. Hope you already found out. Right. The first word, thirsty. When you remove the letter S, it is 30. And the second word, turn. When you remove the letter R, it is 10. And the third word, floor. And if you remove the letter L, it is 4. So there are so many such puzzles available regarding English, which makes your language learning fun and entertaining. You can Google, go online and find so many puzzles like this and enjoy yourself. Okay, now let me get into the chapter. I'm going to deal with the second unit of +1 English textbook. Why do I start with the second unit? You may get confused because you have already got one class from first unit, which was handled by Mr. Abdul Rauf. So don't get confused. We both will be dealing with English in your classroom. Okay. Anyway, the title of the unit is Words and Deeds. Words and deeds. Indeed, you know what does it mean word, and at the same time, what does it mean deed? Yes, of course, it is actions, activities, right? Words and deeds. Do you think why did they select this as the title for a unit? Of course, there is important to these words because there should be some kind of connection between your words and deeds, right? You should practice what you preach. You should be the first one to follow what you ask others to do. Am I right? So there should be some kind of connection between your words and deeds, right? And from another angle, you can say, people remember you after your death through your words and deeds. What you talked them, what did you share with them, who were you for them when they were living? They remember you based on your words and deeds. So the one important thing we all to bear in mind is we should not harm others with our words or deeds. Instead, we can inspire them, motivate them, we can give them some kinds of hope to go on, to move on in life. Right? That's why words and deeds. If you think of persons who influenced you, of great personals who passed away, many names come to your mind. In the case of India, there are so many great men. Can you name a few people who inspire you? Of course you can. Come on. Yes, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, B.R. Ambedkar, Swami Vivekananda, Bhagat Singh, Mother Teresa, A.P.J. Kalam, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, C.V. Raman, Sachin Tendulkar, so on and on. Okay, so all these people are those who influenced us in one way or the other, right? But if you think carefully, you can find out these people inspired you or others through the words they shared or their actions. If you think about Mahatma Gandhi, you can get hundreds of quotes from him, right? His words gave food for our thought. His actions, of course, is very, from his own words we can understand, my message to the world is my life. It is such a powerful message. Do you think anybody can make this message? Anybody can give you this message? Of course not. But Gandhiji, he practiced what he preached, right? He was the first one to follow what he asked people to follow, right? He asked people to be truthful, and he was the embodiment of truth. Gandhiji asked people to be simple and loyal. Of course, he was the first one to follow it. And we can see some other people in history, Mr. APJ Kalam, our former President of India. Of course, he was very fond of students like you. He shared most of his time interacting with people, right? And you must remember one incident that took place in Kerala. Once he was having an interactive session with students, and a little one, a small guy, was asking him a question. And in between, he found it difficult to talk in English, and he said, "Sir, I can't talk English, I am poor English." The moment itself, without taking a second to think once more, he replied, "Talk in Malayalam, in your own mother tongue," right? And that moment we all remember, because he was inspiring people. He was not depending on the language that we speak. He was inspiring people to speak up, to think, and to create the world of tomorrow. Okay, so many people like this who inspired us throughout our life. And the topic that we are going to handle in this unit, Death the Leveler, a poem by James Shirley. Before getting into the poem, let me say, actually there are 3 chapters in this unit. The first one, an article written by our first Prime Minister of India, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, and that too about the father of the nation, Mahatma Ji. And the title of the article is, "And Then Gandhi Came." In this article, Jawaharlal Nehru explains how was the time of the arrival of Gandhiji, what was the condition of India, and what change it took place. Okay, and the second chapter is a very thrilling and a touching story, The Price of Flowers, written by Prabhat Kumar Mukhopadhyay. And the third chapter is Death the Leveler, a beautiful poem, very short but a pithy one, written by James Shirley. So we will learn the poem Death the Leveler, written by James Shirley. So you numbered so many great people who are, even after their death, live in our mind because of their words and deeds. Right. Okay, so what does it mean, Death the Leveler? Death the Leveler. Death the Leveler. The one who makes everything level, equalize. So death is the ultimate equalizer. Death makes everyone equal. There is no difference between rich, poor, tall, short, white, black, no discrimination at all. Everybody is equal in front of death, and after death, everybody will be made just dust. Okay, let's know about the author. James Shirley. He is known as the last of the Elizabethans. He was a prolific writer for the stage. He also published 4 small volumes of poems and plays. And he was born in London. Okay. Death the Leveler is a funeral poem. It's said to be a funeral poem. Funeral poems means a poem written about the death of someone, or sung at the time of someone's funeral. And in this poem, the poet tries to convey a very powerful message that there is no discrimination. In front of death, everybody will face death, and nobody can survive, and the only thing that can survive is the good thing that we did. People will be remembered after death only through the good deeds, good things that they have done for the world, that they have contributed to the world. Okay. Let's read the first stanza. Death the Leveler. The glories of our blood and state are shadows, not substantial things. There is no armor against fate. Death lays his icy hand on kings. Sceptre and crown must tumble down, and in the dust be equal made with the poor, crooked scythe and spade. The poet says, the glories of our blood and state are shadows. Yes, if you feel proud of your blood, your birth, by birth, you are a great one. You are a man of blue blood. It is said some people are great by their birth itself. And the poet says, the glories of your blood and state, the glory that you enjoy because of your high birth and the position that you are enjoying in the society are shadows. Those are just shadows. What is the speciality of shadow? They do not remain forever. Shadow, does it remain? The position of shadow, shade, changes and it moves. Right, it won't remain same forever. And the glory of your birth and the position that you are entertaining is just shadows, and it will be vanishing in no time. Not substantial things. Death lays his icy hand on kings. So these are not substantial things. These are just temporary things that will be vanishing in no time. And death lays his icy hands on king. Death comes to anyone, not only the peasants, not only the farmers, not only the poor people. Death comes even to the king, the ministers, the lords. Everybody will be subjected to death. Death lays his icy hand on kings. So even kings are not spared from death. They can't even survive death. Sceptre and crown must tumble down. Sceptre and crown. Sceptre, you must know. What is sceptre? The image you can see here. Sceptre means a kind of rod that a king carry in his hand as a sign of his power. Sceptre and crown. Crown, you must know, that something that is worn head by the kings. And these are the symbols of power. Sceptre and crown must tumble down. Means kings, they also will tumble down. They also will fall down. They also will taste death. They also will die. And in the dust be made equal with the poor, crooked scythe and spade. And in the dust be made equal. And the kings, they are made equal with the crooked scythe and spade. Scythe and spade, you must know. What is scythe? Scythe is a tool that is used to harvest. Usually farmers use to harvest at the time of harvesting. That is said to be scythe, a crooked one. The scythe and spade. Spade is also a tool that is used by farmers. So the poet tries to convey the powerful message that the kings, they will be made equal to the farmers. Instead of saying kings, the poet used the word sceptre and crown, which is closely associated with kings. And instead of saying farmers, the poet tactfully uses the word scythe and spade, that is also closely connected to the farmers. So this poem is very rich in its figures of speech. The first and foremost line is a beautiful example for metaphor. The glories of our blood and state are shadows. So it is an example for metaphor. What is a metaphor? Do you know what is a metaphor? Here you can see definition of metaphor and a few examples. A metaphor is saying something is this indirectly. And a few examples you can read here. A metaphor is a figure of speech that compares two things by saying one thing is the other thing. In this poem, we can see the poet says in the beginning, the glories of our blood and state are shadows. So the poet says the glories are shadows. The same way, if we say something is the other thing and which are not really this correct, then it is an example for metaphor. We can see a few more examples. The sun was a gleaming pearl. My baby brother is a cute little teddy bear. My sister's memory is a camera that remembers everything we see. The car seat is a fluffy cloud. Custard is happiness in a bowl. Franklin has a heart of gold. Mary's voice is music to my ears. He is a walking encyclopedia. You are my sunshine. The world is a stage. And the other figures of speech that the poet uses in the first stanza is, Death lays his icy hand on kings. Death is personified. He uses personification. What do you mean by personification? Personification is also a figure of speech where an object or a thing is given the human quality. An inanimated thing is given the quality of a man or a living thing. Here, death is said to be a man, just like a man who touched the king. Death lays his icy hand on kings. So the poet says death is just like a person who is having a hand and he lays his hand on king. So personification is used. And you can read what is the definition of personification, and you can read a few examples for personification here. Giving human qualities to animals or objects. Here, the stars winked at me. So the stars do not have eyes. Still, if it is said, stars winked at me, the star is given the qualities of a human being, of having an eye and winking. More examples. The car danced across the icy road. The angry clouds marched across the sky. The stars in the clear night sky winked at me. The tulips nodded their heads in the breeze. And one other figure of speech that the poet uses here in this first stanza is metonymy. Metonymy, as we said, instead of saying king, the poet says scepter and crown, which is closely associated to the king. So by saying scepter and crown, the poet means king. So the scepter and crown must tumble down. The poet means the kings must tumble down, the kings must die and be equal made to the poor scythe and spade. Scythe and spade is closely associated with farmers. So instead of saying farmers, the poet says scythe and spade. So by saying this, he means the farmers themselves. So the kings will be made equal to the farmers. Metonymy, a figure of speech in which the name of one object is substituted for something closely associated with it. As we said in the poem, scepter and crown is closely associated with king. So instead of saying king, the poet said scepter and crown. The same way, spade, scythe and spade are closely associated with farmers. So instead of saying farmers, the poet said scythe and spade. The same way, here we can see in the examples, the White House declared that we are at war with Mars. White House is closely associated with the President of United States. So if someone says the White House declares, that means the President of United States declares. After leading a rebellion, he seized the throne. The throne is a metonymy of absolute power. So I hope you understood what is metonymy. So in this class, we are not going to deep into the poem, only the first stanza we are dealing with, and all these figures of speech he is talking about. You should be very well aware of this. In the coming stanzas also, you will come across these figures of speech. Okay, and I shall give you a few works to do before the next class. Now today itself you can do and send to the concerned teachers. Okay, anyway, have a nice day. Meet you with the remaining part of this poem in next class. Thank you.